Welcome back to Sunrise Daily. We'll continue with our theme on the power sector. Yes, we expect your questions, tweets, and emails on that one. Well, we're joined now by Mr. Anthony Akah, who is the acting CEO of NERC. Thank you for joining us again today on the program. Well, where are we now? Because the last time out we talked about metering and the challenges. What's the situation as we speak?
Thank you very much for inviting me for this program. I would like to say that there is remarkable improvement in the deployment of meters by the distribution companies. And we're also monitoring the implementation of the CAPME, which is a willing initiative for the customers who are willing to advance money for distribution companies to give the meter within 60 days. But however, we are delighted to say that based on our monitoring, there is a very increased improvement in the deployment of meters by the distribution companies to customers.
Well, are we still sticking with the timeline that you've given to them?
The timeline we gave recently is 1 year. However, in line with the provisions of our Act and the provisions of making regulations, most of the distribution companies made reservations that they will not be able to do it within 1 year, and they would like the performance agreement they reach within the government to take effect. What we've done is that we are delighted that the distribution companies has agreed to aggressively roll out meters, because by doing so, they will be able to predict their own revenue and also provide meters to Nigerians. And then to safeguard the customers, what we did also was we made sure that we now gave the right to customers that you have the right to reject any meter, any bill, or any bill that you feel is unrealistic. We are referring to those unmetered customers or customers who are on estimated billing, because in that case, that will compel distribution companies to rapidly meter the customers and at the same time adhere strictly to the estimated billing methodology that the Commission has deployed to ensure that those customers prior to getting their meters will be scientifically metered and billed.
Let me bring in this one because many consumers seem to ask that question, and we should bring it to you. They wonder, why is it not possible for them as consumers to go directly to the meter manufacturers and procure their own meters?
It's important for us to know that every equipment that is used in the Nigerian electricity supply industry or in any electricity sector is a very complex one, and there is a need to protect those equipments to make sure they are safe, to make sure they are tamper-proof. So what we've done is that these meters are properties of the distribution companies, and they are held accountable to make sure that these meters adhere strictly to the metering code. So it will not be wise for us to let customers go over the shelf and buy meters and then deploy in their respective homes.
You know, when you say they are properties of the distribution companies, but consumers pay for them, are they still properties of the distribution companies when consumers pay?
The tariff model, just like any tariff model, be that of fuel. If you go to the fuel stations, the tariff that we pay for fuel, whether it's 87 naira, contains a component that takes care of those vending machines that are in these filling stations. So the same thing applies with the electricity sector. All the components of generating, transmitting, and delivering this power are incorporated in the tariff. The other aspect of it, which is the CAPME, the customers are not actually paying for these meters under the CAPME program, because what happens is that the customers mainly advance money to the distribution companies. We are referring to the willing customers, and then get credit back over time plus an agreed interest. But without that, distribution companies also are obliged under the agreement to provide meters to customers without any other extra charge.
Well, at the moment, because there are many rules and regulations that they are supposed to comply with, it's not the case with the customers. And so one wonders, are you looking into ensuring that discos set up consumer points, access points, wherein they can lodge their complaint? And because some of these things that you have outlined as is the law, many consumers say, look, that is only what happens on paper. In reality, we are still paying for a lot of this infrastructure. Who do we complain to?
Thank you very much. As part of the mandate as enshrined in the Electric Power Sector Reform Act, which is protecting customers, the Commission, way back in 2006, came up with various regulations dealing on customer issues. And one of that has to do with customer complaint handling standards and procedures. And we mandated all distribution companies to have a customer complaint unit in all their business units. As we speak today, we have customer complaint units in the various distribution units. And then we are monitoring them right now to make sure that these customer complaint units are up to the standards that we applied. Aside from that is the fact that we have also established what we call the forum. And forum is more like an appellate body that deals with complaints that were not resolved within the distribution customer complaint unit level, and whatever is their decision is binding on whatever parties that applied before them. So these things are there, and the Commission has gone a way forward by coming up with an IT complaint management system. We are currently testing it within our office, and anytime soon we are going to launch that. That will help us also mine in real time complaints that are going on in the various distribution areas, and be able to ensure that Nigerians and customers get redress for all their complaints.
You know, some of the customers who have started receiving meters in some places in Lagos, tell us the procedure, because some are being asked to pay some amount of money for the wires, talking about the cables. Is that normal, or should they be paying, or shouldn't they?
Well, I would like to say that for customers that are existing customers, there are no extra payment to be made. But for new connections, and some of these payments they are talking about are certification by licensed electric installer that the fittings in the house and the infrastructure in the house, electrical infrastructure in the house, are in compliance with the standards and codes of the Commission. So for all customers, there is no extra payment to be made, because these meters that are being deployed by the distribution companies are going to be deployed without any extra cost. But for new customers, those meters are also going to be deployed to their respective homes, except that the wires from their homes to the next feeder point, which is just to the next pole, will be provided by the customer. So it's not that it's going to be enormous for customers to bear. It has been taken care of in the tariff model.
So in other words, the meters that are being distributed to homes across the country, for instance, those that we have been able to see, and even eyewitness reports around the Ikeja axis, must be given free of charge. Yes,
for those meters given by distribution companies, there should be no extra payment whatsoever.
You know, what about those who had before now paid some amount of monies, and they still say till this moment they're yet to get their prepaid meters?
We've given a clear direction to that. The distribution companies know that they are legally bound to give meters to Nigerians, to the willing customers who advanced money or who paid for these meters within 60 days of that payment. And therefore, we'll be delighted to get complaints from Nigerians who feel that after paying for these meters or advancing money to distribution companies, that within 60 days, the meters have not been deployed to them. If we get these complaints and we investigate that, we will apply the appropriate sanctions. As of yesterday also, we issued a directive to distribution companies to remind them of their obligation to ensure that customers who opt to pay or advance money for meters are metered within 60 days timeline. And at the same time, to remind them also that unmetered customers should be estimated strictly based on the Commission estimated billing methodology.
Mr. Akah, the matter about advance payment or advance monies for meters, CAPME, which are supposed to be deducted from the bills, when is it supposed, is it supposed to start immediately, or is there a timeline?
It has taken effect since the CAPME order came out. That order took effect. What we've done is just to reiterate the fact that within 60 days, you must have to meter these customers. If you don't meter these customers within 60 days, you have no right to disconnect them. You have no right to give them any estimated billing. So what it means now is that distribution companies must meter Nigerians or customers who advance money under the CAPME within 60 days. And if there is any deviation to that, we will be delighted to get that complaint and we will act swiftly.
Two things here. One,